Hello and welcome back to the another episode of the Hindu News Analysis. Well, it is 23rd June 2025, and in this video, we are going to discuss some important articles which are very much relevant for your preparation. You know, right now the condition in the Middle East is very volatile. We are seeing there is a tussle going on between a battle going on between Iran and Israel. And yesterday we saw that how USA joined it in a way. The Israel begged USA. They in a we can say they forced USA, or we can say they impacted the foreign policy of USA to join to enter into this battle and to have to have the physical presence in it. You know, if we have to understand this issue, we cannot properly understand it by looking at the present scenarios. For that, let's try to dig deep into the history. Let's see how the relationships between Iran and USA were from the history, how it was before the during the World War. What was the conditions in the Iran, and how it changed. After some time, what was the role of the Iranian Revolution in it, and how 2001 the 9/11 attack in a way impacted this relationship, and how Iran was under threat during that time when there was attack on Iraq. So let's try to discuss all that, even though it may not be directly, related to your preparation. But to understand this topic, to have a holistic view of this topic, we need to discuss that. We need to understand that. Then only we can reach to the conclusion what the situation is right now and how they are progressing, and what should be the stand of a common man with respect to it, and you being the UPSC aspirants, what should be your stand and how this situation can be calmed down. Let's try to understand that. It was not always same. The relationship between Iran and USA was not always this like we are seeing right now. It was not always like that. This relationship, this turmoil, it started way back during World War Two. World War Two. It was that time when world was divided into two blocks. World was divided into two blocks. It was on the one side it was the German bloc, and another side it was the Britain led allies, and on the one side it was the German led allies. At that time there were many countries who were siding with these countries, who were siding either of these countries. The Iranian government, or the monarch of Iran, the king of Iran, he thought that time that it is better for him to to side with what? To side with Germany. So he in a way sided with Germany, which was not liked by Britain. And we know that Britain, USA, USA, even though it entered very later in the war, but it was not liked by them. So what happened? The war started in this region, now Iranian region, and the king in the Iran, he was withdrawn from the position. The Pahlavi king who was there, he was withdrawn from the position, and there it was replaced by a democratic party, democratic government. The monarchy was replaced by a democratic government. Now the world started to think that this democratic government which they had brought in there, it would align with the Western ideas. And we know that it was a time when the whole world was having their eyes on the Middle Eastern oil. So everybody was looking at it. USA was looking at it. USSR was looking at it after the World War. So everybody was looking at it. Now after World War, it was the USA. It was USA's foreign policies which would impact the world. Before World War, when World War was in process, it was the Britain mostly. Now after World War, it was the USA's foreign policies which were going to impact the situation in this region. So what happened? They thought that they would give easy access to their oil to them. They thought that they can easily manipulate the governments in this region. But the Democratic Party, they did little different. What they decided to do, it is before 1953. What they decided to do, they decided to think of their own people. What usually a Democratic Party should do. They decided to nationalize the oil lanes. They decided to nationalize the oil in this region in the Iran, so that everybody will get the profit of it. And they would not sell randomly to anybody. They will not give access to any other country which was not in a way liked by whom? It was not liked by USA, UK and their allies. So what they did, they started a coup in this region. An army coup was started in this region, and the democratic government was thrown away from this place. So democratic government, the government which was elected, they were thrown away because of this coup. And this coup was very much led by whom? It was led by USA and UK. So now the condition changed. Now they wanted to install a ruler. What is the usual model of UK or USA? They wanted to install a model. Usually what they would do, they would end the monarchy and they would introduce a democratic government there. But in the Iran's case, it was different. They ended the democratic government and they tried to introduce the monarchy back. The Shah of the Pahlavi dynasty, their Shah, his son was outside Iran. So what they did, they brought him back to the Iran and declared him the king of Iran. And he was mere a puppet for the UK, for the US. He was just a puppet ruler there. And all his foreign policies, they were in line with whom? They were in line with the UK and with the USA. Whatever USA wanted from him, they were in line with him. And also at the same time, if we look at the Iran, they had a very deep history. The Persian Empire, you would have heard about him. You would have sometime in your life, during your education, during your school days, you would have heard about Persian Empire, the great Persian Empire. And in the 14th century, how they converted to Islam and they adopted the ideas of Islam. And their leniency, they tend to lean towards the Shia sect of Islam. So deep inside the people in the Iran, they were very much religious. They did not like the way Iranian ruler, the puppet ruler, was trying to impose their ideas on them. The puppet ruler, he had studied abroad. His ideologies were very much related to the Western world. He tried to impose those ideas. There was a time when even hijab was banned in Iran. So different things were changing in the Iran. Even though it is said that the puppet of Iran, the ruler of Iran, he tried to replicate what the Ataturk in Turkey did. He tried to replicate that in the Iran. But the Iranian people were very much different. They were very much religious. They had their beliefs very strong with respect to their religion. So what they did, they decided to, retaliate to it. They decided to go, organize protests. And in these protests, it was led by a clerk, the Islamic scholar, whose name is Ayatollah Khomeini. He started to give his sermons with respect to that, how he is going to impact the culture, their civilization, how he is trying to introduce how he is trying to intrude the ideas of Western in our culture, and how he is trying to dilute our culture. So these ideas of Ayatollah Khomeini, they got the popularity. People started to listen them. People started to believe in him, and they started to retaliate against him. And in the same time, one big blunder was done by the king of Iran. He organized a party in which he what he did. He organized a party in the Iran in which he invited the world guests, the celebrities, the great people of the world in this party, and it was a grand party in Iran. And in this party, the food was served in the golden plates. And when the people in the Iran who were mere middle class people, when they heard of it, they saw that how the Iranian government, how the Iranian king is celebrating this party, how he is treating the world leaders, how he is treating the celebrities, and look at how he is treating their own people. They don't even have the food to eat, and they are sleeping hungry. So what they did, they got more aligned towards the Ayatollah Khomeini. And it was the same time when Ayatollah Khomeini was on exile for the 14 years. For the 14 years he was on exile, but he spread his ideas through the media during that time, through cassettes, through video recordings. His ideas got spread, and eventually there was a huge protest in this region. And when the Shah of Iran, he wanted USA to intervene, the USA stayed out of it, and eventually he escaped from the country, and the Ayatollah Khomeini, he came back to the country, and it was 1979 when there was Iranian, which is also called as Iranian 1977, which is also called as Iranian Revolution. So it was the Iranian Revolution. Now the world, now the people in his country, there were many political parties who were supporting this Iranian Revolution. They thought that they are going to introduce back the democratic rule in this region. But the things changed. The Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, what he did not introduce the democratic rule, but he introduced the Islamic rule, the Sharia rule in this particular region. So there were some insiders who were very much opposed to him, and also the Western world, they were not in line with him. And it was during the time of Shah of Iran, when he was the ruler, when the NPT was introduced. In 1967, it was the year 1967 when the non-proliferation treaty. 1968 when it was 1968 when non-proliferation treaty was to be signed, and Iran also signed it, that they are not going to have a nuclear weapon during any time. They are not going for it. So after that, there were questions were raised when the Islamic Revolution came in, whether they are going to follow the norms of the NPT. With respect that the Ayatollah Khomeini, he was very much clear that he is going to follow the NPT, but leave him alone. We are the separate country. We have our own independent foreign policy. We have a set of belief. We have a set of beliefs which we are going to follow. But at the same time, when there was an Iranian Revolution, in the neighborhood of Iran, there was another thing was going on in the Iraq. A young leader was gaining the prominence, and his name was Saddam Hussein. After the Islamic Revolution in Iran, there were sanctions imposed on it because it was not democratic. It was thought to be that they are the fundamentalists. They are not in line with the democratic principles of the world. So there was a tussle always. The sanctions were on Iran. Sanctions were on Iranian oil. There were speculations that Iran is going to violate the NPT and they are going for the nuclear weapon formation. So during that time, it was Saddam Hussein, which was very much supported by the other Arab nations. And one more thing about the Ayatollah Khomeini, when he gained the power in this region, he called a sermon in which he highlighted that how all Muslims around the world, they should revolt against their kings. They should revolt against their kings, and they should try to bring in the rule of the people rather than the monarchy. So the other Arab nations, they were very much secured of him, and they in a way funded the Saddam Hussein, and also the USA funded Saddam Hussein to go for a war versus Iran. But the terrain in Iran, it is very much hard to intrude. So this the war between Iran and Iraq, it lasted for 8 years, and eventually there was no result to it. Eventually Saddam Hussein has to back down from it. Then the conditions there were sanctions on the Iran. Conditions were very much different. What happened after that? It was 2001 when 9/11 happened, and it was a time when Saddam Hussein was not liked by USA. He was not liked by Western nations because of many reasons. First of all, when this war with Iran it ended, they demanded that the funds which they had funded Saddam Hussein, he should give them back those funds. Saddam Hussein rejected to give any funds back to him because according to Saddam Hussein, he was fighting their war. Why should he give funds back to him? And also his attack on Israel and various other acts, there was a conflict between Iran and Iraq and USA. So 9/11 happened. It was the opportunity for USA to to have a base in this region. So first they attacked Afghanistan. They toppled the Taliban government there, and in 2003-2004 they attacked Iraq and toppled the government there. Now it was caught between two USA's camps, first in Afghanistan and the second in the southern region in the in the uh, in the Iraq side. So they were caught on the two sides, that it was very much easy for USA to attack Iran and topple the government there. But here, what the Khomeini did, the present supreme leader, what he did the unthinkable. So what he did, the allegations against him were that he is going for the nuclear program. So what he did the unthinkable. What was that? He, being the Muslim scholar, he gave a fatwa about the about adhering to nuclear weapons. He said that it is very much anti-Islamic and it is haram in Islam to have a nuclear weapon, because when there is a nuclear attack on any particular country, nuclear attack, does not discriminate between the children, women, on and also on the trees and also on infrastructure. So it is actually against the Islamic teachings, and it is haram for every Muslim to adhere to it. So when this statement was made by the monarchy of, by the supreme leader of Iran, so now there is no way that there is no chance for USA to attack them. So in a way, is the supreme leader in 2000, in the early 2000s, in a way, what he did, he saved his country from the attack from the USA, because there were USA's bases which were very much near to Iran, and which was very much easy for USA to enter into Iran, have their army into Iran and topple the government. But he saved very brilliantly there. But after that, there were speculations going on that Iran is going for the nuclear program. Iran is always going for the nuclear program, and there were checks from AIEA. It was found out that the nuclear program installed in the regions of Iran, they are very much similar to that of Pakistan. And it was this Pakistani scientist whose name is Abdul Qadir Khan, who was the major reason for that. He had stolen the ideas and he has discussed these ideas with the Iranian regime, and they were developing the nuclear program on this model. So eventually the Abdul Qadir Khan, he gave the confession about it, and he was arrested in Pakistan. So after that, there were more sanctions imposed on Iran, and finally a treaty was signed between Iran and USA that they are not going for the they are not going for this nuclear program. It was signed by P5 plus 1 is Germany. They signed this treaty, and Iran is not going for this nuclear program, and there would be continuous checks on it, and it was very much going smoothly. It was signed during the Obama time period, and it was going very much smoothly. But after some time, when there was when Trump was elected first time, what he did, he unilaterally got away from this treaty. He unilaterally ended this treaty, and he believed that they are still going for this. And this unilateral ending this treaty from the Trump, it gave a space for the Iran to further develop it, as it is believed by many. It gave space to them further develop it, and the situation between Iran and Israel, it further escalated. The things started to change. The October 7 attack by Hamas on the Israeli soil, it was the major reason for the conflict. And then we know about the genocide, what Israel committed in the Palestine, in the West Bank and Gaza. That is very much known to everyone, and that is very much recent. Then after that, the toppling of the Syrian regime, that is also the setback to Iran, because that was the leader in Syria. He was a puppet of Iran. Then also in Lebanon, how the Hezbollah was neutralized, and also in Yemen, how Houthis are neutralized by USA-led attacks and Israel-led attacks. So right now, the Iran was in a very much lonely position. And it was a time when Iran again decided to cooperate with the USA. There were negotiations going on, and Iran was very much cooperating with them. And from nowhere, what Israel did, they attacked the nuclear sites in Iran. Iran, and they attacked nuclear sites. They attacked their nuclear scientists. Many scientists were killed. We know that there are many army heads were killed, we know that. And also, yeah, after, we know after October 7, sorry, when there were negotiations going on between the Iran and USA, the Israel, they attacked Iran from nowhere on their nuclear sites. They killed many scientists there, and they toppled the top leadership in Iran. But it was the mere misunderstanding, or we can say it was mis, they what Israel did, they did not took this situation that seriously. They thought that they can topple Iran in a very small time period, and also at the same time, Iran is not in a position to to retaliate to such things. Iran is not in a position to retaliate to it. So what happened after that? We saw that how Iran retaliated, and Iran retaliated very hard on the Israeli soil. We see how Tel Aviv is doing right now, how Haifa port is doing. We understand that, that is very much known to everybody. So in the meantime, when when this Netanyahu, he understood that it is not under their domain to win this war unilaterally. So what they decided to beg USA to come in this war. Please enter into this war and help them. So it was very much, it is, if we will look at the USA's policy right now, the Trump's policy right now, how did Trump won the election? What was the basis for the Trump to win this election? The main basis for the Trump to win this election was, to make America great again. His main manifestos were that they are not going for any war in the Middle East or in other region. They would be focusing on their own issues. They would be focusing on employment. They would be focusing on immigration. They would be focusing on developing, making America great again, rather than focusing on the Middle East, what is happening in the Middle East or in this region. So this was a very tough decision to make for USA. And at the same time, we know how the relationship between USA and Pakistan are going, how it is very much impactful for India. And at the same time, when Pakistan, they had nominated the USA's president for the Nobel Peace Prize for, how he interfered, according to them, between India and Pakistan, between the tussle between India and Pakistan. So it was this time when it was very much difficult for them to make the decision. And the situation, the condition in this region, how people are seeing it, there is not that support for this attack. But Trump, being the Trump, he asked for 15 days, and within 2 days he attacked the nuclear sites in Iran, and they claimed that they were very much successful. They had successfully attacked the nuclear sites, which we'll learn through the question, what were those nuclear sites. So according to them, it was very much successful. Now, what would be the retaliation from the Iran? Iran, very significantly, Iran said that they were warning USA to not enter into this conflict. If USA will enter into the conflict, they will block the Strait of Hormuz, and which is very vital shipping route for the West Asia, for the South Asia. Approximately 1/4 of the oil supplies come through this region. 1/4 of the oil supplies come through this region. So, and the countries are highly dependent on it. If we look at our oil supplies in India, we are very much dependent on the oil from the Middle East. So it is definitely going to impact the economies of many countries. It would have a wide lasting impact on other countries. So in a way, Iran was begging USA to not enter into this conflict, but USA, being the USA, they entered. They wanted to show their supremacy in the region. And what would be its impact, that we will see. Iran has already passed the resolution in their parliament that they are going to block this Strait of Hormuz, and it will have wider impact. So in this article, it is basically, there are 4 articles which are relevant to each other, how India would react to it. We are seeing that in another article, how India is expanding its market to other regions, how India is expanding its market to other regions, how we are, how eventually, actually, we had already started to expand our market. Earlier we used to have, there was only 1% oil imports from Russia. Now we had increased it to 40 to 44%. So we had already expanded our oil imports, and also we are looking at other countries for the alternatives. So definitely it is going to have a wide impact on India and the Indian market and also the Indian economy. So we have to react to it, and it was given in another article. And also the situation in the world, how India has to steer its economy in this world. Right now the situation in Russia and Ukraine, the situation in Israel and Gaza, and the genocide in Gaza, the Israeli attack on Iran, and the Iranian retaliation, the USA entering into this war. So it has a wider impact. It is, if it is not going to be the World War III, at least it will have a wider economic impact, which will which will impact many economies in the world. So with respect to that, India has to look for its interests, how India has to expand, how India has to look for the other alternative markets, and at the same time how India should develop its reserves for the oil. It is also highlighted in the article. And how India should go to how India should expand its market to the other regions. How India should have the alternatives, and also the domestic industry, how domestic industries should be developed. How the domestic industries, how there is a need to develop the domestic industries, and also the impact of the tariff wars which USA started, their impact on India and other countries. So India has to look for various things. India has to look for the various things. There can be the challenges with respect to the price sensitivity. There can be challenges with respect to the quality. There can be challenges with respect to various other things. There are various other things which are going to be, which are going to impact the economy of the world, economy of the India. So we have to look for the alternative markets, and that's what we are exactly doing. And with respect to this, let us see how Iran will retaliate. Actually Iran has retaliated very hard on Israel, but with respect to USA, they are yet silent. But they had promised that they will block the they will block the Strait of Hormuz, and let's see what would be its impact on the world. So this is in a nutshell what was in today's articles. I hope you had understood it. It was very much necessary for us to have a basic understanding about the Israeli, Israeli attacks, Israeli, how they are putting pressure on the USA, how in a way they are framing the foreign policy of USA. We had discussed everything here. I hope that would be very much helpful for you. And in the upcoming articles, in upcoming days, there would be much more articles with respect to Iran and Israel, and also how USA plays its part. Let us discuss if there is any important there. Now let's see what type of prelims related question can be asked in the exam. Here a simple question with respect to the nuclear sites which were attacked can be asked, like Natanz, Isfahan and Fordo, which have been frequently mentioned in the news recently, are significant nuclear facilities located in which of the following countries? Definitely it is Iran. So with respect to this question, the correct answer is option B. Now moving to the second article here. Again, the man of the war. Basically, it is the same article which we discussed about the Trump, how he was nominated by the most peaceful country in the world, Pakistan, sarcastically telling that how they nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize, but his actions are very much familiar to the world, and his attack on on Iraq, it has made the USA under threat. Iran can retaliate so hard. The USA's people in the USA are under threat because of his mere ego, because of the way how Netanyahu, how the Israel is framing their foreign policy. So this is in a nutshell what is in the article. Now let's move to the another article. It is about India ramps up oil imports from Russia and US in June amid instability in the West Asia. We saw that, we discussed that, the impact of if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked by Iran, how it is going to impact the Indian oil industry, because our dependence on the oil is so much that we cannot run our economy. So for that, India has to look beyond. India has to look for the other markets. We are already importing 40 to 44% of oil from Russia. Now we are looking towards USA also and other countries. So this is how India is looking for its own interests. So this is very simple. Let's have a look at what type of question can be asked here. The question says the Strait of Hormuz, a strategical import waterway frequently in the news, connects Persian Gulf with which of the following bodies of water? Definitely Gulf of Oman. So this type of question can be asked in your prelims exam. Now here is another article stating the Indian economy amidst global troubles, like the first when the Trump started when Trump held the office, these global troubles, they exponentially grew. First, he brought in the tariffs. Then, second, he gave the free hand to Israel to do the genocide in Gaza. Then there was little tussle between India and Pak and Operation Sindoor. Now we are seeing Iran being under attack and Iran's retaliation to Israel, and now USA entering the conflict. There are speculations about the Strait of Hormuz and various other things, which is eventually going to impact the global economy, which is eventually going to impact the Indian economy. So what are the how India needs to find a way to service in this situation? We want to manage external shocks. We need to manage domestic economic resilience, and also there is a window of opportunity for our country. So how we can manage the external shocks? We need to go for the more free trade agreements. We need to diversify supply chains, like we are doing right now with respect to oil industry. We need to double up production linked incentives. We need to go for the capital expenditure, and also we need to have a better expansionary monetary policy, so that we can curb the situation, so that the least impact of such global tensions would be felt by India. So this is a very simple article which we had already discussed during when we took a proper session of it. Now let's move to the another article here. The article is basically talking about the expansionary policies in slowing economy. There are two ways, two things which you need to understand. One, policy of central bank, or we can say RBI, and then the policies of government with respect to finances. This is called the fiscal policy. In simpler terms, I would say, if you have to understand it in a very layman's language, and this is called the monetary policy. Usually there is an inverse relationship between the two. To have a stability in our country, to have a stability in the economy, there should be an inverse relationship. If the monetary policy is expansionary, then there should be tax. If it is expansionary monetary policy, if money is more available in the market, then what government should do? They should impose more taxes. Contractionary fiscal policy should be there. More taxes on the people. So this is basically the ideal relationship between the two. So basically there is this is the ideal relationship between the two. But right now, if we look at our economy, and we will see how it is slowing economy right now, and for the short time period, there is a necessity that at the same time there would be expansionary policy in the monetary system and as well as in the fiscal system. What is that? The repo rate. What is this repo rate? It is the rate at which the banks lend to the at which the central bank lends to the consumer banks, or the banks in nutshell, we can say. So if this repo rate is high, then the money available to the banks is low, because they will have to pay more interest for that. So what this time the Reserve Bank of India has done, they had lowered the repo rate, so that it will make more money available to the people, more money available to the banks, so in the market. At the same time, what it has done, the government has done, they had lowered the tax rates. Now, according to the author, it is for the short time period, it is good, but if it lasts little longer, what it will do, it will have a inflation in the country, and at the same time, when these taxes are lowered, tax collection is very low. What it will lead to? It will lead to the fiscal fiscal, it will lead to the fiscal instability, or we can say fiscal deficit in the country. It will lead to the fiscal deficit. This will lead to the fiscal deficit, and eventually the inflation may go out of the hand. It may even go beyond 6%. So these are the important things which the government has to look into. Right now it may be good, but for the longer term it has a wider impact. This in a nutshell what the article here says. Now let's have a question. Let's solve the question here. The question says, consider the following statements regarding the repo rate in India. First statement: it is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow money from the Reserve Bank of India for the short term. Correct. An increase in the repo rate generally makes borrowing cheaper for commercial banks. No, it makes borrowing harder, expensive for the commercial banks. Third, it is a tool used by the RBI to control inflation and manage liquidity in the economy. That is also true. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 3 only. Now let's move to the another article here. How will foreign universities impact higher education? This is an important article which was in today's newspaper. Why? Because there are many foreign universities who are going to open their branches in India, in Navi Delhi, Ahmedabad, in Navi Mumbai, Ahmedabad, they are going, and Ahmedabad, they are going to open these branches. For example, there are 7 universities from UK, 5 from Australia. They are going to open their branches in Indian soil. So what is the reason for that? Why they are doing so? Why Canada, USA, Australia, Italy, they are so much interested in India right now with respect to their universities? The reason is very much clear. Right now there are few things which are moving very fastly. You would have heard about xenophobia, the fear of the tourists, and also the Islamophobia, the fear of Muslims. In a way they are trying to protect their countries. They are trying to protect the immigration from the other countries. So what they are doing, they are going to expand these universities. When we Indians, we tend to go to any other country for the education purpose, we will spend on crores, we will spend on in lakhs for this education, but the main purpose is not that education. What is the main purpose? That we will stay in that particular country and earn. So in a way we are immigrants to that country. So to have this the fear right now in the world with respect to immigration, to curb this issue, what the countries are doing, they are expanding their branches. And at the same time, if we look at the situation in these particular regions, the education system is very much different. The people, the population, how they had controlled their population, the the enrollment rate is very low in such colleges from their native people. So definitely it is not good for their business, and they want to expand their business to the countries who have the huge population, who want to get the education through the colleges, and India is one of the better place for that. So they are expanding it. Now the article here highlights, is it really going to work? Is it really going to work in India? If for a short time period it is, if for a short time period, maybe people will get attracted to it. But what about for the longer time period? What about, or if there is a person who wanted to get an engineering degree, he is getting same degree in Chandigarh for 10 lakhs. In such universities, in such branches, he will get it for the 50 lakh rupees. What Indians will do? This is our nature. We will definitely go for the cheaper one if it is in our country. If we have to go outside the country, then definitely we will pay in crores for the same degree. But if the same degree is given in our country by their branch, we will not even have this degree for the 5 lakh rupees. 10 lakh is not not even in discussion. So definitely it is not going to, knowing the psyche of the people, knowing the psyche of our countrymen, they are not going to get attracted towards these universities. They will tend to go outside, or if not, then they will go to the cheaper universities in India for the same education. And also one thing, what would be the model of these universities? Are they going to, have the faculties from their own countries, so that they can maintain the brand which they had developed from years, or they are going to attract the faculties from India? So this is also the bigger question which would come, which we would discuss, and which would definitely come into the discussion once these universities would be established. What would be the fee structure there? And these questions will be answered that time only. Right now we can make the assumptions, right now we can make the discussion about it, but the reality will come to true when these universities would be established in the real sense. So this is about the article, how it is going to impact knowing the psyche of the people in our country. Now, moving to the last article of today's discussion, it is basically talking about India trails in critical tech, particularly in semiconductor technology. Here there is the data given with respect to various countries where India stands in the critical and emerging technology. It is very low, even though we are in race with many countries. There are many countries who are not even in race with being the superpower. For example, Taiwan, it is staying way away, way ahead of India. So definitely in this article, it is iterated that India should focus on the critical technology. There should be more production linked incentives with respect to it, and we should diversify the market. So with this, we complete today's discussion. I hope you had understood the article. If there is any confusion, please do write in the comments. We are here to help you. This initiative is for you guys. Please do write in the comments. We will definitely respond to it. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.